After officials named a suspect in a 28-year-old cold case homicide of a teen girl in Belgrade.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda and I'm here to discuss another true crime case with you guys. If you haven't noticed, I haven't really been able to keep up with the true crime in the news weekly podcast. It's hard with working my day job and we have gymnastics and football with my kids. It's just something I would love to do as like a live or something that as I'm able to maybe work less at some point, I'm able to offer you guys more. But right now I'm just going to focus on releasing cases to you guys. Some you've heard, some you haven't. So let's make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can be updated when I post a video. So in today's case, we'll be heading to the state of Montana where we'll be discussing the death of 15-year-old Danielle Houchins. Another one where I was not able to find a ton of information on Danielle's backstory. Again, she was 15. Sadly, when people pass away so young, there's not a ton of backstory, but I was able to find a few things that I can use to introduce you guys to her. Danielle Houchins, also known to her family as Danni, was the oldest of three children born on November 11th, 1980 to her mother, Cheryl, and her father, Rex. From what I was able to locate, she was born in Alexandria, Minnesota, and eventually she would relocate to Belgrade, Montana. A lot of the details that I will be sharing in this video came from a special I watched called Murder at Cameron Bridge, Who Killed Danielle Houchins. Both Danielle's parents worked as ski patrol on Big Mountain when she was younger, which was a mountain near their home. This would allow the family to always be on the mountain, and then during summers, they would enjoy as a family to go hiking or whitewater rafting. It seemed like they generally enjoyed just spending time together outdoors. Now, according to her sister Stephanie, Danielle had a dry sense of humor, often cracking jokes and playing tricks on people. She was a good student and she just started to drive on her own. Now that day, it was like a normal Saturday. It was about 11:30 a.m. on September 21st in 1996 when Danielle told her mother that she wanted to go about 4 miles up the road to a local area called the Cameron Bridge fishing access. Her mother agreed since it was like 10 minutes down the road, but told her that she needed to be back by 2 p.m. as their family had friends coming over. But when 2 p.m. came and went, Danielle's mother and her visiting friend would head to the fishing area to go look for her. Once they arrived, they found the truck that Danielle had driven there. It was left unlocked, which was definitely not like Danielle because there were some valuable items in the truck, like a laptop that she knew that she should lock it up. Then, right across from the parking area where the truck was, her mother spotted Danielle's water bottle and the keys to the truck on the ground of a trail there. This, of course, made Cheryl really start to worry, and she began screaming out Danny's.
Right away, we saw the keys and a water jug laying right in the path. I immediately felt a knot. It wasn't normal. I started running around, screaming hard, looking.
After some time of looking for her, Cheryl and her friend decided to head back and call for help. Remember, this is 1996, so they didn't really have cell phones, not like they do now, and she didn't have any way to call her. So before she left, Cheryl left a note that she left on the truck telling Danielle that they had the keys to stay there and that they would be back after going to get help to search for her. Cheryl would end up calling 911 to request help in locating Danni at 5:30 p.m. The Gallatin County Sheriff's Office arrived at the fishing access to help shortly after the call. However, after about an hour of no luck finding Danielle, police would call in the Gallatin County Search and Rescue Team for more help. Now, at some point when it was after dark, I didn't see a specific time the official search party was called off for the night. I'm sure this was really stressful for the family because they obviously want to keep looking. They're not going to be able to rest, but it's also not really safe and hard for those police officers and others in the search and rescue looking for Danni to just keep going when it's completely dark out. Now, there were some family friends that decided to stay out looking. You know, this is someone that was only 15 years old and people were worried. They decided on their own to stay out, and it was one of these people that would find Danielle's body. During his interview with police, he would tell them that as soon as he found her, he knew right away that she was no longer alive.
And we'd been there about 45 minutes. I was just getting ready to tell him, let's go. I said, man, what are we doing here? And then he just said, I found her. So I got closer and I looked and I seen her, the back of her head. And my whole body went really weird and I knew she was dead.
So this man and his brother, their names are important. They found Danielle. They were searching together. So they found Danielle. And just as they're about to leave the fishing access to call police, Danny's father returned to the fishing access. He came back one last time before returning home. Like I said, it was late at night, dark out, and he wanted to just check one more time for his daughter. And this is when he found out that she was no longer alive. Police, of course, would be called to come and investigate, finding her under a willow tree near the Cameron Bridge and the Gallatin River. She was face down with her face fully submerged in the marshy water with her shirt and a bra pulled up to her neck. She was found with one arm over her head and she was covered in mud, leading police to believe that she had been dragged under the willow tree to help sort of hide her remains, push police off from finding them, I guess. Attempt to hide her. That's what I'm trying to say. 2 days later, on September 23rd, an autopsy would be completed showing that she had some blunt force injuries to her neck, face, back of her scalp, and her legs. It was confirmed that she had scratches all over her body and that there was injury to her genital area. We would come to find out later, but also at this time, there were 4 hairs found on her body, one of them being on her cervix. Mud would also be found in her airways, leading to her cause of death being listed as drowning. Now, the manner of death was listed as undetermined because reportedly, according to all reports that I saw, it's hard because a lot of the people who are discussing it now were not the ones who made this ruling, so they really can't give a good idea of why it was listed as an accident. But the family was just told that she drowned, and her toxicology report only showed caffeine in it, so all other drugs were able to be ruled out. During an interview with police from 2021, investigators said that they had no idea why it was listed back in 1996 as undetermined because everything they saw now indicated that it was a homicide. Like I said, it's really hard for them to give an answer for why things were done in 1996 when they were not the ones that necessarily did it. Now, even though the medical examiner listed it as undetermined, from my understanding, police, even at the time, believed that this was a homicide. One reason for this was the way that her arms were when she was found. It looked like she was actually, like I said, dragged through the mud and put under the willow tree. Now, this isn't done after someone passes away, obviously, so it would indicate homicide. Investigators would interview people, those closest to Danni, those who often visit the park, people that are just generally in the area. I'm sure they received tips. DNA was tested against all of her friends and family, and there were no matches found. Of course, this would be really hard on the police because when they don't have any leads, it's really hard to go anywhere. Eventually, a $50,000 reward would be offered for any information leading to the arrest of Danielle's killer. Sadly, though, the reward would not be what helps solve this case. Like a lot of those that are now being solved in the true crime community, in the last few years, it would be Parabon Nanolabs that came to the aid of justice. Police would provide the public with updates on August 8th of this past year, where they would identify 55-year-old Paul Nathaniel Hutchinson as the person suspected in Danielle's death. Now, doing the math, that would make Paul like 27 or 28 when he committed the crime. If he's 55 now and it was like 28 years ago, about 27, 28, if I do my math right. According to police, he had just recently moved to the area in September of 1996 to attend school at Montana State University. Remember, she was killed in September of 1996. So he was there for like a few weeks before he committed this crime. And Paul would go on to graduate with a degree in fisheries wildlife biology and work for the Montana Bureau of Land Management in Dillon, Montana for 22 years. Now, like I said, he or his family line was identified as a possible person of interest by Parabon Nanolabs. So police would go and have a conversation with him. They would pull him in, speak with him on July 23rd, again, of this year, 2024. And during that 2-hour interview, investigators said that Paul was seen sweating profusely, scratching his face, even chewing his hand. When investigators showed Paul a photo of Danielle, he basically like slumped in his chair and he showed signs of obvious discomfort. Now, this wasn't the only case that police spoke to him about. Prior to this, they showed him other photos, and really they only had this reaction to Danielle's photo. So that was definitely a big clue for police. Now, he would be allowed to leave the interview. From my understanding, police would tell her sister Stephanie that they were going to basically take the information from the interview that they just had with him and a DNA hit that they got from Parabon Nanolabs and take it to a judge to be able to get a court order either for DNA or a warrant for his arrest. Either way, they're going to follow up with that in the morning and continue to his arrest. However, the following morning at 4:17 a.m., 911 would receive a call requesting police assistance, and then the person would hang up. Paul's body would be found shortly after, dead on the side of the road due to a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He had a wife and 2 adult children. So, like I said, he would end up taking his own life on July 24th, a day after police had interviewed him, not even a full day, like 12 hours. And this information came out to the public on August 8th. The following day, on August 9th, Paul's wife and the funeral home would both release statements. We are absolutely heartbroken to learn this news, and our heart goes out to the Houchinsons family. It's good to know that they will be able to at least be able to find the closure they deserve. Our own family was already reeling from dealing with suicide. In 24 years of marriage, there was never any hint that something like this could be lurking in the background. Paul was an exceptional husband and father. This latest news makes our grieving so much more complicated. We would appreciate being given the space to process and come to terms with the development as we move. Now, the funeral home would say, on behalf of the Bundridge Funeral Home, we would like to acknowledge the thoughts and sentiments of everyone that is trying to post Paul's obituary. And those are all valid feelings. We would also like to express our deepest sympathy for Danni's family for their loss and hope that they are able to find closure from this heinous event. For everyone, please understand that the position of a funeral home is not to sit in judgment of anyone, but to support the families that are left to pick up the pieces of this or any other events in life. The family of Paul, who are also trying to figure out how to move forward and pick up the pieces of their life, that is now the question. The wife and children were not aware of any crimes that happened prior to them and are also reeling from this news. The funeral home would ask that everyone please understand that we do not condone what happened in 1996 or any other crime he may have committed, but respect our obligation to our families we serve, and we will give the same dignity, dedication, and respect to all families we serve. Thank you for your understanding. Now, prior to his death, Paul had no criminal record or even traffic history. But after his death, investigators took DNA from Paul's remains, and it was confirmed that it was indeed his DNA matched the DNA that was found on Danielle's body. Sadly, this is really all that we have for the case. Obviously, deceased people could not be charged or convicted of a crime, so this will most likely be closed since the perpetrator is deceased. But it is a reminder to those that think they have gotten away with a crime that they have not, because we all know who you are, Paul Hutchinson. We know that even if you're not alive, what you did. Also, let me know in the comments below if you think this was the only life he took. How many times have we heard that people take just one life? Usually we hear more in true crime. Like most people, if they take a life, it's for no reason, of course, because this was a crime of opportunity. We obviously hear people who have anger, or if they're stealing, or if there's custody battle where they take someone's life, and that's not really a stranger killing, obviously. So how many of these do you think there is out there? That is this the only one? Is Danielle's the only life he took? Because if you follow true crime, you know that just because someone commits this crime doesn't mean that they leave DNA that can be used, or that it was saved or properly handled. Like back in 1996, if the police department did not handle the DNA properly, then we would not be in this position to even know who took her life. But with that, I'm going to remind everyone to please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on all my social media platforms that are in the description box. Make sure you stay safe out there. The world can be an ugly place.